Hello, hi everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm just waiting for Vinithra to join us and we should start soon. Thank you all. Yeah, so there she is.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, and you?
I'm good, thank you. You can hear me loud and clear. I don't
I
think there's.
can. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this A-class conversation on Let's Talk Design. We're really happy and excited to have you with us, and we have a lot of questions for you. So, what I'm going to do is I'll quickly introduce you, although you don't need an
Sure.
introduction, but I'll just take 2 minutes and introduce you. Vinithra Amarnathan of Weespace Interiors is an interior designer and a stylist who runs Weespaces, which is a boutique interior design firm that focuses on creating unique personal spaces for the modern family. After years of being a banker, her love for creating beautiful spaces took over, and these spaces was born. An explorer in spirit, she loves to travel and is continually inspired by different cultures, aesthetics. Having lived all over India and California, she blends in California chic style with unexpected, eclectic, and colonial elements to define her design aesthetic. Her love for the outdoors, sunshine, and the ocean embody Cali chic style. And married with vibrant textiles, art, and unique pieces, her designs are balanced yet full of personality. So excited to have you with us, Mintra.
Thank you.
I'm really fond of your work as well. So it's a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to speak to you today. So
Yes.
I will, we have a format is basically we'll ask you a few questions and then we'll open the conversation to everybody else who has any questions for you based on your experience with stone. So
Sure.
tell me, stone is a very, very versatile material, right? And people use it and experiment, play around with it in combination with a
Yeah.
lot of other materials. How do you use this element of versatility in your projects?
It's such just by itself, I think stone is an element that forms a part of almost every household design, every residential design, starting from the kitchen, which is sort of like the heart of the home. And that's literally mostly where we start our design work. So it's a living dining in the kitchen. And one of the first things that we talk about when we talk about a kitchen is stone. What kind of countertops do we want to use? What kind of tiling that we want to do? So that's pretty much how important stone is, in the sense that it literally starts off the palette or the material board for the entire house. If you're lucky in the sense that we're starting a project from scratch, then we talk about things like flooring, or we talk about how to bring in stone in so many areas, like in the walls, or in terms of how we dress up a column or a fireplace. There are so many ways to incorporate stone, and I think the beauty of stone is it's so versatile. You can sort of bring it in different formats in so many spaces in your house. If you want to have a texture play, then there's a different kind of stone to do that. If you are looking at countertops, then you start to look at things like how does this stone perform in itself for that particular function. And I think that's what drives the use of stone in some of those kind of areas. So I think it's kind of two things. One is in terms of how the function sort of works and how it lends itself to doing well for that function. And the other thing is the aesthetics. You have a lovely brick wall behind you. So how we bring in stone to bring in texture, how we bring in stone to bring in sort of that earthy color palette somewhere, or how to bring in that sort of balance between something that's so natural and juxtaposed with the other elements in a home.
So interestingly, you've also actually addressed my next question, which was
Okay.
what are the characteristics that you look for when you're picking up stones for residential spaces? You've already addressed it. It's, a lot of it is to do with function and how the stone sort of reacts. Uh,
Yes.
could you give us some examples of what are stones that work very well for residential spaces that you are personally, you've experienced and used them?
Right, right. I think if you cut back to a few years back, the black granite was the biggest workhorse of any Indian kitchen. It was like you wanted to have a mess-free kitchen countertop and you didn't want to do any maintenance. So everyone brought in black granite. So it's kind of been there for years. And we're seeing this shift now in so many of the kitchens that we work on that people want it to be brighter and they want it to be open. The kitchen is slowly becoming a part of the household now. I feel like I see people wanting to cook more, they want to entertain more, and they want to see that interface that the kitchen has with the living. And that's where I really think stone has transformed kitchens. Now we have the ability to have a white countertop without actually worrying about will it work in the Indian context or not. It does work. So, I think the first few things that we look at is it a porous stone? Is it something that will absorb water, or will it absorb oil and stain and that kind of stuff? We look at how heat resistant a stone is. Is it something where you're cooking and you just put something directly on the stone? You don't want to worry about, is it going to get damaged from the heat? So I think these are the two big things we look at. How porous is it? How heat resistant is it? And how easy is it to maintain? So, for example, marble as a stone, we love marble, but it's not for everyone. You want to have a marble countertop in your kitchen, you should be okay with seeing the marble age. You should be someone who loves that aging, the patina that comes into the marble, and the way it starts to look over time, because it's not an engineered product, it's a natural product. Vis-a-vis, if you were to look at an engineered quartz, for example, it will withstand time and it'll probably look more or less the same to sort of, take care of the basics of it. So I think there is function. The second is the kind of kitchen that we're designing. There's how it looks within that household and within that concept or that design itself. And the third is, the person, like the people who are going to be using it. Some people love natural products. They love wood, they love stone, they love, stone meaning marble and natural stones. But there are some clients who prefer engineered materials because, it's so low maintenance, it's easy to take care of, and it's something that you put and you forget. So, so we look for those kind of properties in materials when we pick them. In terms of flooring, we really haven't used stone in floors yet, but I would love to see them on floors. Limestone, I would love to see kadappa. So many Indian natural stones that we have.
Yeah, kadappa is really nice. Yeah.
It's beautiful, right? That lovely dark gray. You don't get that texture in anything else. And, to be able to bring all that into your house, I think it brings so much of nature in a way to me.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's quite insightful. So in your projects, you also use a lot of light colors, white walls, and really sort of, the idea is obviously to create openness and let the house open up. And I think that's what you've spoken about earlier, that lifestyles, the modern family is also looking to open up. And you cook
yes.
in an open kitchen, you are entertaining the same space, and we all are doing that today. How do you think stone helps in complementing your own personal style?
So I think, the first shift was, like I said to you, in the kitchen itself, right? It's a huge change to move from a black countertop to a white countertop today. We never thought that was possible in India. A lot of the times you were sort of ridden with the black granite countertop. You had to have that look. But today, the fact that you can have one of your major surfaces so light literally opens up the kitchen, and also it opens up, the avenues and the possibilities of the other elements that you can bring in. Like I wouldn't have brought in a blue and a white tile or blue cabinets if I had a black countertop. So the fact that now I can use a white countertop opens up the possibility of a completely new kind of kitchen, you know? So I think that's a huge shift that we see. The other thing that I'm also, you know, I'm liking is how we're experimenting with bringing in natural materials into our major living spaces. You know, one is, of course, the kitchen where you actually need it, but sometimes we don't really need to use stone somewhere. It's not a function driven thing, but it's more an aesthetic driven thing. You know, it's like we recently did a project where we had a column right in the middle of the living and the dining room, literally the first thing you saw when you walked in. And we clad it in a natural gray stone tile, and that becomes the feature of your house then. Yeah. You know, we sort of dress it up like a mantle to make it look like, you know, something that has aesthetic as well as function, you know. There's so many times we've done things like a brick wall somewhere, or we've taken, you know, a stone tile onto the wall, even in a living room, like a travertine or something like that, which immediately brings in that warmth and texture. You know, one of the biggest things is dimension. When we do paint, it's kind of flat. It's, you know, it's not, it doesn't give you that sort of dimension. But with stone, I think you're able to bring that depth to a wall, and it just transforms from being a bare wall to something else. So I guess we're seeing a lot of that happen now. People are so much more open to different possibilities of using stone.
Any tips or ideas on how people can play with different materials and stones for different spaces? Like you've spoken about the kitchen and the living sort of space a lot now. Moving on to other areas of the house, how do you think one can experiment with stone?
I think bathrooms, such a huge place to use stone, right? I mean, for the floors, for the walls, it's so easy to, you know, maintain. Function-wise, it's so good to bring in stone, which is non-porous, into your bathroom floors, or the bathroom walls even. Flooring in a house is such a huge and critical component. You know, if we do have the sort of ability to change floors, or we're doing sorry, I'm not sure if I'm losing you. I sort of felt like I can you hear me? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. No, I was saying that flooring is such a huge way in which we can bring stone into, you know, a house. You can, whether it's indoor, outdoor, you can have sort of outdoor flooring. You can have different kind of stone flooring on the indoors. I love the way, you know, we can use stone floors to transition from the indoor of a house to the outdoor. Those are some ways to use it. On the walls, I mean, so many, I've seen so many projects where, you know, we've seen stone being used on, like, let's say a double height ceiling, or, you know, a large wall to make it like a feature wall. So I think those are amazing ways to use stone. You can bring them in so many ways in different spaces in your house. I think floors and walls are just probably the most obvious kind of choices.
Right.
To bring them in.
And are they stones that you have sort of worked with that work very well for flooring as well as for walls?
We've not really used, you know, stone for flooring, not in the kind of projects that we have done so far, but we've used them on the walls. And yes, they're really amazing in the sense that, like I said, you know, they bring in that dimensional value to a wall. It just goes from being a flat wall to something more. And there are many kinds of stones you can use: travertine, or you can use, you know, brick tiles. You can use stone tiles in a stone tile format, or large slabs of stone. You know, marble. We've used marble in some projects, which is instantly brings in that openness and that, you know, that feeling of space. So yeah, I think on the wall is also a very nice way to bring in stone.
Okay, thank you. So my next question would be, I mean, you do a lot of, you know, apartments, right? A lot of the work that you do is sort of redoing a lot of these apartments. And most of these apartments come with existing flooring. right? And sometimes it is in stone and sometimes it's not in stone. Any advice to actually new buyers on people who are looking to invest in a home or redoing their apartments that they've bought, on what are the things that they should look for?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, a lot of the times when we walk into buying a new house, we don't really look or worry so much about the floors. I mean, all that we look at is it marble or is it granite? And then we're sort of, we're moving on. But I think it's nice to take a look at the color of your floors, because it does make a huge difference. In terms of surface area, I feel like the floors cover such a big surface area, you can't really ignore them. So I think if you are someone who likes lighter, brighter spaces, then I would look if my floors are also kind of in that sort of category of light and bright. So many times we've come across homes where they're stuck with, let's say, a really dark floor, and then you may not really have the budget to shift or change that floor into something light, because it's not an easy shift,
It's a real problem.
Yeah. So then you're sort of stuck, everything in that room now has to work with that dark floor. So I would really suggest, dark floors are nice in some rooms. But on the whole, having lighter, brighter floors is always easier on the eye. It's especially in smaller homes. I also tend to say that, matte finish tile, if you're doing tile, or marble, both of them are great choices. I somehow feel that the glossy finish tiles are a little, they scratch easily, they're not that easy to maintain, and they also chip and crack, and everything shows more on a glossy surface than on a matte surface. And neutral, I feel like a neutral floor is always something that you can work with so easily. We can bring in, like, simple gray tile or concrete finish, cement finish tiles on the floor, or a nice beige marble. Those are options that you can sort of integrate with any kind of design that you might be looking for. And of course, you can throw in some rugs for warmth. The other thing that we've also done in a lot of homes, is where you may not really like your flooring and you want to shift out of it. And one good option is to do wood floors, at least in your bedrooms. And, that way you can sort of instantly change the look and feel of a space, and it just elevates the look immediately. But of course, it's not viable in all the living areas of a home.
Of course,
yeah.
I also think if you choose to get involved at that stage when the home is actually getting done, let's say you're investing in a builder floor, or floor that is already semi-done, you could choose. I mean, if you get involved with design probably at an early stage, which a lot of people don't realize, then it's easier to inform these decisions rather than suddenly realizing that, oh my God, this flooring is not going to work for us because I've got, somebody is going to do my interiors now at this stage. So it's more important to get, I guess, involved at an early stage of the design process.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a great point. So many times we've also seen projects where, you might buy a property that's less expensive and that is not in a good condition and just gut remodel it. And that gives you so much, bandwidth on what you can do and what kind of flooring you can use. And then the whole canvas is to you. So that's also,
And I think sometimes that those choices are wise choices to make, because
absolutely,
depending on what your needs are, right? And how much time you can invest in the project.
Right.
Okay, very interesting. So, you're known where you're very, very famous for designing on a budget.
Okay.
And something that is a concern for every client, no matter how much their budget is, right? But when it comes to using good stone, which are the stones that you think are good, simple choices that will enable a cost-effective, good design?
Right. I think our perspective on budget is a little bit different. I mean, I'm the kind of person who believes that there is a place to splurge and there is a place to save. Budget homes are not cheap homes. Budget homes are not homes where everything is vanilla, the lowest price item. No. I think when we work on a budget, I think our job is very consultative in nature. You know, our job is to sit down and say, hey, if this is the money we have, how can we best use this money? So typically, I'm not someone who thinks that you should spend any less, or you know, you should save to the extent of losing functionality on items like stone, kitchen countertops for that matter, or you know, on items like, for example, a good sofa or a good dining table, or lighting, floors. I feel like these are backbones of your home, so you should spend them. And so my job as a designer is to say that if I'm looking at a kitchen countertop here, then I feel like you know, engineered quartz may be a great option. But within that, you know, I have the bandwidth to do so many kinds. I may not go for a Satwari or marble look, but I could go for a more simpler look. But I would still spend that much. You know, I wouldn't compromise on those kind of items in my house, because you can't change them now and then. You're not going to go and rehaul your kitchen every 2 years. But if you don't like a chair, or if you don't like a lamp, or if you don't like, you know, the upholstery on your couch, all of that is easy for you to change. So, you know, so I think that it's important to keep that perspective, that some elements like your countertop, or, you know, the kind of stone that you're using, or even flooring, are super critical to your home. So while you want to be on the budget and you want to make conscious choices, you also don't want to overlook the function and the quality of that product. So within the range of, I would say, you know, a good quality product, we might go on the lower end to, you know, to see if we can save a little bit. But I think our choices will still remain something that is good quality and good function. So normally what we've done for kitchens is we've done a lot of engineered quartz. We've done Korean tops. You know, we've also done black granite in 1 or 2 homes, you know, where it sort of fit the look, you know. So we felt like, yes, we could afford to do this here. But for example, you know, there are so many kinds of granite which are light gray or white, which look beautiful, but we would never recommend it for, you know, a kitchen countertop, because you know, they're beautiful and they're cost effective, but they're not functional. So I feel like stone is one of those areas where, you know, you might still have to go ahead and stick your neck out and spend on a good stone. I think it's worth it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was really, really useful. And I think we've had insight into what the end user should also do. And I think that's a conversation that is very meaningful, right? Typically, you know, we all, as architects and designers, we focus on what we think and what the product is going to do. But I think at the end of the day, the end user, we have to add value to the end user. That's the reason why we choose a design. So, I mean, that was really useful. I'm going to just take a few questions from the conversation here on the chat. So, what is your take on the future of Indian marble?
Oh, that's a huge question.
I know.
In the sense, yeah, like it's a big question. And you know, I do see with the, you know, the coming in of Italian marble in such a big way, Indian marble now sort of has taken a back seat. But personally, in a lot of areas, I love the look of white Indian marble over beige Italian marble, because the brightness that white marble brings, you know, beige marble may not bring. So there is a place for both, I feel like. That said, I think it's also crucial and important to see how the quality of the stone is, especially when it's marble. You know, you want to make sure that it's good quality, doesn't crack, the slabs have the right kind of thickness for what you're going to use them for. So I think there are a lot of things that come into play. It's a question of, I mean, it's hard to say if, you know, one is better than the other, or one is more, you know, important than the other kind of thing. But I think everything has a place of its own. And I feel like Indian marble is, you know, we're seeing the use of Indian marble in so many areas, like bathrooms. We're seeing them in furniture now. We're seeing, you know, slabs of marble being used in beautiful furniture items like console tables, dining tables, and that kind of stuff. So I think it's really a question of what fits for the project more than anything else, or for your home. And there are a lot of cases where Indian marble fits beautifully, and it's just a question of us using that over the next other option that's available. Sure. Yeah.
Some of another question that we have here is, can we have white brick tiles in a drawing room area or the living room?
Yes, sure. Like we've done a brick wall, and it was in a living room. You can certainly do it. I think it's basically pretty much like having a white wall with texture. But that said, I think we all worry a lot about dust in our country. Like we're always concerned: is it going to be very dusty, or is it going to start looking, does it need a lot of maintenance? And I must say, it doesn't really. It doesn't. It's just a question of wiping off regularly, and I think white brick is beautiful in living rooms. If you want to bring in sort of that understated rustic feel, or that understated, lived-in sort of a look, and I would say go for it. Yeah.
My last question here is, what about marble for flooring, Italian or Turkish?
Marbles, or sorry, can I just scroll back and see?
Marble flooring, marble for flooring. Would you choose Italian or Turkish?
I have not used Turkish marble, so I'm not very sure over here, honestly, in terms of technicality. First thing is, I would look at what kind of quality the stone itself has, because marble in itself is a very broad term. There are so many kinds of marble. You want to make sure that it fits for the space that you want to use it for. I think Italian marble, we all know, has great longevity. It is one of the best flooring choices available. So I think, only because I have not worked with Turkish, and I'll be honest here, I might just go for Italian just because I know more about it. But yeah, I would say, look into both the products. And
somebody else asked that, will tiles take over marble as bigger and bigger tiles are coming in?
Yeah, that's a good question, and we're seeing that. We're noticing now that when we get into flooring for bathrooms and that kind of stuff, or even for living rooms and everything, the tile choices have expanded so much. Today, we can actually find tile that looks like marble, and it's shocking, the price difference. How real these products look. And you can't also take away from the fact that a tile is probably so many times more easier to maintain, because once you put the tile, it's done. It's you really don't have to do anything. But if you want to have marble, then you will have to take care of the stone. You will have to polish it regularly, and all of that kind of stuff. But it's a classic question of do you want a faux product or do you want a real product? And then it's, there's no right answer to it. People who love marble and who love wood will never want to go and take something which is
looks
a representation.
Looks like marble. Yeah, that's
exactly. So yeah, I think there's a place for every product, and I don't think one's going to take over another. But yes, I do think that the market is getting so competitive when it comes to tile nowadays. Yes.
I think the same question was asked by 2 or 3 people, so thank you for answering that.
Yes.
One last question that I'm going to take for today is, somebody's asked that in their parents' home, the stairs are cemented color and it's not looking good. So how can they work on it, and do the tiles need to be replaced?
So I think you can always cover, you can layer over it. That's one advantage of using tile. You can always tile on it, you don't really need to break the stair and then put a tile. So one option could be to do that. And what I would do is, I would use tile on the riser, but on the top, I would use a different material, whether it's granite, whether it's wood, whether it's anything else. And that I think I would avoid tiling, because I feel like, it behaves better when you have one flat surface. But for the riser, you could certainly tile the riser. You could also, clad it in granite as a stone. You just have to look at certain things like, how much weight can it take? What is the thickness of your, granite or cement tile, or whatever you're going to use, a vitrified tile. So all those technicalities set aside, I do think it's a good idea to tile it if you're not comfortable with the whole cemented look.
I have one more question for you.
Sure.
Someone asked how to use marble at the entrance, for an apartment.
How to use marble at the entrance?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if the question is more in terms of, structural areas like floors and walls, or if it is in terms of furniture.
I think just how to introduce. I think the person is Shruti is asking if how can one use a marble as an element at the entrance. So what are the ways in which one can explore?
So many ways. You could clad a wall in marble. You could, you could add a beautiful console with a marble top and brass legs. You could create a small feature with something, like laser cut marble with backlighting. You could, if you want to go all the way out, you could also do the floors and the walls, wrap them, envelop them in one kind of marble, and it looks great. It's just a question of how your house is and what kind of element fits the personality of the house. So I think that's important. But I think when you're not looking at, let's say, the stage of construction or a new home, and you still want to bring in marble, then furniture is such an easy way to bring it in, or something on the wall is so. And these days we have even smaller items that can give you sort of that materiality, where you can say a cake stand, or a candle holder, or something that goes on the wall, or marble lamps and lanterns. There's just so many kind of things these days.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you so much. I think this was really, really
Thank
useful.
you.
Yeah, I will ask you one last thing. We're following this hashtag called Let's Talk Design.
Okay.
So if you had to say something on Let's Talk Design, what would that be?
For the hashtag, you mean? Something for the hashtag?
Yeah.
And does it have to be related to marble, like to stone?
Just last words on design. Just last words.
Oh, last words on design. Oh my gosh. Okay. I think design is dynamic. It's going to keep on, you're always forever designing. You're never done designing. And I think design truly is something that's a way of life. Anything that you do, everything that you do could have a nice designed element to it. And you're never really truly done designing. So keep at it, I think.
That's really nice. Yes. Thank you. Thank you,
Vinithra, Tanya.
Here with us today. A-Class is celebrating 50 years of A-Class this summer. And so as a thank you for you participating in our celebrations, as well as on this campaign with us, we are going to plant a tree on your behalf. And we'll be sending you a certificate as well. So
thank you so much. That's a beautiful idea.
Small gesture from us to say thank you.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again for having me.
Thank you.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah, same here. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye.